a couple of months ago when I read Sula by Toni Morrison. See that? Right? And this was another book that I borrowed from my friend Jane. So Sula is written by Toni Morrison. This rich and moving novel traces the lives of two black heroines from their close-knit childhood in a small Ohio town through their sharply divergent paths of womanhood to their ultimate confrontation and reconciliation. Now Wright has chosen to stay in the place where she was born, to marry, raise a family, and become a pillar of the black community. Sula Peace has rejected the life Nell has embraced, escaping to college and submerging herself in city life. When she returns to her roots, it is as a rebel and a wanton seductress. Eventually, both women must face the consequences of their choices. Together, they create an unforgettable portrait of what it means and costs to be a black woman in America. And again, this is Toni Morrison's Sula Peace. And my name is Carol Kelly of They Call Me Miss Kelly. I am a community educator, professional reader, proofreader, copy editor, writer, and whip shea butter and content creator. Here for your intellectual growth and entertainment as I go down this journey of applying knowledge to my life. All right, hoping to help others in my community through reading. The more we enjoy reading, the more we read, the more messages we pull from reading, and we can apply those things to our lives. If you are in education, if you know anything about ELA, which is English Language Arts, we teach theme. We teach theme in fiction because there are messages that you can pull from the experiences of the characters in the books that we read, and we can apply them to our lives. All right? Okay, so these are my readings or my reviews, and I also have another book discussion coming up sometime in March. I attached the registration link in the comments. This is a group discussion specifically for Black women. I love everybody, but this group is made for Black women because I feel like literacy needs to be improved in my community for Black women so we can teach that to our children, and then we can... That's my timer letting me know that my dinner is done. So we can teach our children, through literacy. They can learn for themselves. We don't just have to rely on the school system. We are a family unit and we start learning at home. All right. And the book is called Pussy Prayers by Black Girl Bliss and is written from her perspective as a Black woman. So again, this group discussion is meant for Black women. I'm kind of thinking that I just want to make it a live instead of like a whole Zoom thing, just so you guys can get to know me a little bit better and I can share with you my thoughts. And I'm going to put out another video after this one with some of my thoughts and readings from Pussy Prayers by Black Girl Bliss. Right? So here are my readings, and I'll just give page numbers and my reactions to my reading. So there may be spoilers. Again, this is Sula by Toni Morrison. Page 143. Quote, "Show? To who? Girl, I got my mind and what goes on in it, which is to say, I got me." Sula Peace. Is it too much to just want your own sanity? These are my readings, my reactions from the reading. So is it too much to just own your sanity, identity, to live by your own rules and not rules of others, to be accepted and loved for who you authentically are, and for whoever has a problem with you to just leave you alone without being bitter? How is it that someone can live their life the way they want to, but other people feel the need to rate their life? Sula had never met anyone she could love without giving up her authentic self. But once she started to fall for Ajax, like the cleaning, she started to change without noticing, which some of us women do. Ajax did notice her change, though. Immediately, It's so subtle. Like, we just want to make sure we make the one we love happy that we forget about ourselves. But Ajax saw that. It was something that Sula did that he noticed. He wanted her because she was a free woman, that he can be as authentic as he wanted to be. He could say, look, I like to sleep around with other women. I don't want to be in a relationship. And Sula was the same way. But once she started to feel like she needed Ajax, she started to change herself and then started to become jealous that Ajax was spending his time with other women. But it was because Ajax noticed that change and he pushed away. Sula noticed it too, but she was blinded by love, right? So we tend to forget about ourselves when we are starting to fall for someone else. Then our happiness becomes dependent on making someone else happy. We've stopped living for ourselves. Being influenced by what we see around us makes us feel as though we have to do the same in order to keep our loved ones happy. Then we're happy, right? Wrong. It's exhausting. It is lonely, but you can't stop. You can't express how you really feel because you don't want to hurt the ones that you love. So you do a day date with a friend, you might go to the gym, but then it's never enough. You keep falling asleep. You try to escape, but there's really nowhere to go. You're too hard on yourself. Take a break. Do the things you enjoy that will make you happy. Your family will want to be around you then. So stop focusing on your family. Stop focusing on trying to make everyone else happy. Focus on making yourself happy first. Then everyone around you will be happy. Makes sense? So focus on you, but don't ignore the important things around you. Stop trying so hard to please everyone else. Make yourself happy first before you serve others. Serve yourself first. Okay? Page 153. So the people of the bottom blamed everything that went wrong on Sula ever since she betrayed her best friend. I don't know if I spoil it here what happens, but you can probably kind of infer or read between the lines. People of the bottom blamed everything that went wrong on Sula ever since she betrayed her best friend. When she died, all of a sudden things got better. Could have been perspective or boredom, but it was definitely gossip. I'm sure good things happened too with Sula. It couldn't have all been bad when she was around. It's just that when we focus on only the bad things, that's all we're going to associate it with is just the bad things. But if we focus on the good, then we see nothing but good. That drunk, abusive mother in the book sobered up and became attentive to her child after Sula had been accused of putting her hands on the child. All of a sudden, this drunk woman, she's like, don't you dare put your hand on my kid, blah, blah, blah. And Sula was just trying to help. But everybody wanted to hate Sula because she was the town tramp, right? So now, because this woman hated Sula so much, all of a sudden she wanted to sober up because she wanted to show that she was better than Sula. So Sula did serve a purpose. You know, yeah, she was the town whore. She did this. She was accused of doing all these things. But because of her, she caused someone, she caused a drunk mother to sober up. But the mother only did it to prove that she was better than somebody else. So can you imagine what happened to the mom once she lost that reason, that why, that made her be more of a better mom to her kid? It was just because she wanted to prove she was better than somebody else. So the bottom was so worried about Sula that everything in the town that went wrong was because of her. But they never noticed the good that was also because of her. They mentioned it, but never acknowledged how something negative made something else positive. Because what you put out, you get back. For every action, there is a reaction. For every positive, there is a negative. It's like yin and yang. You know how they say everyone has a purpose? So that town, the bottom, changed because of Sula and her looked down upon ways for the better. Sula showed that you could be independent, you can be single, you can be a hoe, you don't need no kids, you don't need a man, but you need your mind. Sula was losing it from a lack of love. Her mother said she didn't love her or like her or whatever. Sula was damaged mentally. Her mother didn't mean for her to hear what she said. And I'm sure she was just talking shit, right? Sitting around with her friends. Like, yeah, I don't really love my kids. I mean, I love my kids, but they get on my nerves. Sula being a young kid, hearing that, it affected her negatively. All right. But like I said before, you can't tell anyone how you really feel or why you're exhausted. Women are supposed to hide all those feelings. Like, this is why some of us probably walk around with an attitude, or why some of us we just feel like we have to be strong, because if we admit how we really feel, we're afraid we're going to hurt someone else's feelings, but we're hurting ourselves by lying to ourselves. This is why you're exhausted. You're too busy keeping everyone happy. That's what Sula learned to do from the women she grew up around. Probably never really knew what made her happy. Not Sula, sorry, her mom. Her mom was the opposite of Sula. She was like the women of the bottom who believed that she had to have a man and she had to have kids in order to be happy. But all they did was sit around and complain all the time about their men and their kids. So her mom learned to do what the women she grew up around did. She probably never really knew what made her happy. She vocalized her true feelings, and her daughter, Sula, heard it. Sula couldn't find happiness. She tried to find it in the company of men. So yes, she was free, but she had a price to pay for that freedom. She had an empty void inside of her that she could not fill. She tried to find it in the company of men. She tried to feel something. She tried so hard not to be like the women in her family, the bottom, like women all over, right? Sula served a purpose and she was judged for it. But then again, she wasn't doing it to make herself happy. She was just doing it to not be like all the other women in her life. So again, you have to focus on what really makes you happy, and you gotta constantly check yourself. Like, am I doing this because this makes me happy? Like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for somebody else, or am I doing this for myself? Because if you're not happy, how are you gonna try to tell somebody else how to live their life, or try to be a leader for somebody else when everybody can see clearly that you're really not happy? You're just living for someone else. All right, so at the end, I had questions, which is a reading skill. You should be left with questions after you're done reading. 1, so who changed? Was it Sula or was it Nell? 2, Sula and Nell were so close because they were so much alike. After everything they've gone through, Nell ended her friendship with Sula. So Nell was the one who was married and had the kids, and Sula was the friend who was wild and went to college and didn't get married, and she hoed around with all different kind of men because that was her thing, right? She had to fill that void with something. Okay, so Nell thought she needed a man, but she really needed her friend. Her friend knew they weren't in love, talking about Nell and her husband. Sula knew they weren't in love, right? What happened between them that broke up their friendship wasn't about love. Sula was her soulmate. Sula and Nell were soulmates, right? but Nell allows society and the rules and behaviors of society to make her end her friendship. It wasn't until Nell was in her 50s and Sula was long gone before she realized that she was the most authentic and the most happiest person with Sula. They could have learned from each other, but they allowed something to rip them apart and break their friendship apart, and they were ultimately unhappy apart because of it. Instead of sitting down and talking to each other and realizing why they wanted each other in their lives and cut out all the other bullshit, can I say bullshit? And cut out all the other bullshit, then they would have been just fine. Right? Yeah. All right. So that was my reading of Toni Morrison, Sula, just a little snippet. Right now I am reading Slay by Brittany M. Morris. Yep, Slay by Brittany M. Morris is already good. It's about a black high school student who has created a safe online gaming platform for black people of the black diaspora, okay, African American and people of color, and somebody tries to invade that space and say that it was like racist or something, but whatever. So yeah, again, I am Carol Kelly of They Call Me Miss Kelly. I'm about to hop on and do another video, so if you watch the next video, I think I do reference Sula. And this video is a couple of reading responses to Pussy Prayers by Black Girl Bliss. Again, if you would like to register for that book discussion, to discuss it with me, and we can pull messages out to apply to our lives, the things that we learn. Again, we learn we need to be our authentic selves. On Sula and Their Eyes Were Watching God. I did Their Eyes Were Watching God, I think, when I was in undergrad. Yep, I read the book when I was in undergrad, and I think that like the Lifetime movie came out or something like that during that time. Yeah, Sula was good. Because my friend that let me borrow this, she's the single friend, like in New York, living her best life. So I live like vicariously through her. Right. She's not on social media, so she probably won't see this unless her sister or somebody tells her. But yeah, I love this book. But the new one is Slay by Brittany Morris. You have to read that one. That one is a really good one. So if you teach like middle school, it is a young adult novel. It's about gaming. It's Black Girl Magic. She creates this game. Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. All right, so let me end this one. I'm going to get ready for the next video. Thank you, Miss Daughtry's Kinder World. I think I remember you telling me about you did a thesis on this before. All right, let me go. New video coming up next.